Are you a fan of Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park, The Office, or Disney and Pixar movies? Or do you just want a sleek, comfortable patterned shirt? Then you need to check out Roosevelts.com. Roosevelt's clothing is the most eye-catching and comfortable clothing available on the market. From button-ups to hoodies, hats, and more, Roosevelt's truly has something for everyone. Check them out today at Roosevelts.com. That is RSVLTS.com. And when you do, make sure to use promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off your order. Made for those with a love of sports, pop culture, and all of the above, this is clothing for the bold and fun for those who dare mighty things. So that's promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off new, clearance, and restocks at Roosevelts.com. Hey guys, here we go again. Another Going Postl, if you saw by the title. This is Small Talk with Mike Kanik. But before we go any farther, I'm Dylan. That's George. George, what's going on? Talk to me.
Just want to remind everybody that this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the Roosevelts brand. Codes should be coming back.
They're coming back very soon.
You'll be able to use code SWOGGLE to save yourself 20% on your order. And you can follow along on all forms of social media at Going Postl Pod, at Dylan Postl. Dylan has been killing the social media game lately. I'm very proud of him.
I'm doing better. I know I have to do even better, but I'm doing better. I have reminders to tweet because at 37 years old, I live off the Eric Postl system of I make a list. Every day, it's the same daily reminders at times, but it makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel like I'm doing things well, and I should be. And literally, it just pops up twice a day. Tweet. And whether I have something to tweet or not, I might tweet, and otherwise I don't tweet. But it just makes me go like, okay, I need to stay on this because social media is a very, very key thing that I need to use in a better way. For myself, for the brand, for this podcast, for everything I'm doing. If I want people to know what I'm doing and know that I'm still doing things, social media is the only way. And I've fully realized that. It's getting better. It's going to get even better. I'm going to cough. Postl cough.
I'm not even going to mark that one. We're just going to leave that one in there because you called it out yourself. All about it. And listen, Joe Shoe's episode, as great as it was, some technical difficulties, you were on the wrong microphone. This one, you set a reminder for yourself. You were on the right microphone. All is well in the world. Very happy about that too.
And the right camera, and everything was good.
It's like you're a podcaster.
It's like I actually take this shit seriously. But man, I was so bummed out about the Joe Shoes one because I was like, man, it was such a fun episode, and then all audio.
It still was fun.
But it's just I knew Justin Summers. Or Summers, whatever his name is, I still don't fucking know. Because
Justin Summers.
Perfect. I was like, man, I'm going to get it. I'm going to hear it from him. But then we did the recap episode, and I got so many messages about the audio quality being awesome. And I was like, man, I finally got that shit handled. And I call Kanik very early the unsung hero of the major pod, the guy that literally
100%
makes everything work and everything happen. So to deep dive into one Mike Kenck, come off the Joe Shoes episode in interviews, and then we go into this one, which again, 2 interviews of people that broad fans, I don't know if that's the term, that's what I'm using, Postlism,
it works,
might not quite know. And Mike Kanik, I think they're going to come out of this interested, and it's an easy plug for all things he's doing, and just a really, really fun sit down with a guy that's turned into a good buddy of mine. Here we go. Guys, let's talk about Mad Cat Beard Care. They make my beard feel soft, silky smooth, and they can do the same for yours. A one-man show since 2019, Mad Cat uses a portion of their sales to care for local stray cats. That money covers their medical bills and finds them safe spaces and forever homes. Their products are made to order with vitamins and all-natural oils that promote strong, healthy hair and moisturize your skin as well. They've got exclusive scents for myself, as well as other wrestlers like my good pal Brian Myers, Mr. Kennedy, and Ring of Honor legend Delirious. Make sure to check out all of their scents, along with my Swoggle scent, which has notes of lavender and sage. I absolutely love this scent. And guys, we've got an exclusive offer for listeners of Going Postl. Use promo code SWOGGLED to save yourself 15% on your orders only at madcatbeardcare.com. That is Swoggled with a D on the end to save yourself 15% on your orders at madcatbeardcare.com. Guys, that's 15% with promo code SWOGGLed, and remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard. Guys, another episode of Small Talk. This week, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. It went from Kofi Kingston and Renee Paquette to Joe Shoes, and now Mike Kanik. But if you don't know Mike Kanik, the most unsung hero of the Major Pod, lover of canned air, Uber Eats, and the only 34-year-old that has never driven in his life, that's Kanik. Hi, friend.
Well, got my canned air here.
Your
just
Uber
had
Eats is
some
ready to be
McDonald's. Uber Eats has been eaten.
So I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, you're not incorrect. And yes, you've jumped the shark. You went from Kofi Kingston to Shoes to me.
Guys, if you don't know Kanik, this is gonna be a fun one. If you do know Kanik, I got some fun things to even bring up that he has no idea about, that a couple people may have helped and assisted me in. Kanik,
Oh boy,
where did this start? If again, Kanik essentially runs all the Major Pod merch.
I don't run. I manage.
Kanik runs Major Pod. He's to thank for the Major Pod merch and all that. Where did it start, Michael? Give us the background. Give us the start from the start. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I was just a normal fan of the podcast. And I had a job at what was or still is a Fortune 500 marketing agency, and I was doing pharmaceutical marketing on the digital side, and I was miserable, and I was listening to the podcast, and I was like, this is what I got to do. I like collectibles, I like comics, I need to find a job in that field. And I just went on LinkedIn, typed in toys or collectibles or something, and one job opening popped up. I applied for it. The next day I had a job interview, and went in, and they were asking me all these questions, and they're like, do you know anything about the WWE? And I'm like, yes, I do. I go to SummerSlams, I go to WrestleManias, I go to all the local events. I love wrestling. And they're like, well, we just got the license to the WWE. Can you help us with that? And I was like, yeah, I think so. So I got the job, and I think like a week or 2 weeks of me into the job, the guys had one of those phone call promotions that they used to do back in the day on Pro Wrestling Tees. If you buy a T-shirt, I'll give you a phone call.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I got a phone call from Matt and Brian while they were driving to Raw or something, and I was like, hey guys, just let you know, the podcast really changed my life. I've left this really miserable job and got this new job where I'll be focusing on WWE statues. And Matt, by the way, quickly asked for my Instagram because he wanted free shit. So he started following me on Instagram, and one day he mentioned on the podcast that he wanted foam fingers, and I used to make merchandise for like Chase Bank and Yankee Stadium and all these companies based out of New York City. And I just like, hey, I know how to do this. If you want it, I can get it done for you. Just give me 2 weeks. And those foam fingers turned into keychains, into condoms, into a toy company.
So the foam fingers were the earliest. That was the first pod merch that you did.
It was either foam fingers and then pop sockets.
Okay, I literally
Yeah.
That's I had. So when you said the WWE stuff, I've known you now for so long. It feels and almost you're so far gone from that. I completely didn't have any idea what you were talking about with the WWE merch, and I was like, and then you said the statues, and I go, holy shit, that okay, yep, it brought it all back. That 100%, okay. So that's how you got into the crazy world.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of wrestling. I was always a fan, right? But like, I used to go to the events and I used to hang out at the bar, and I would hang out and I just drink with everyone. So I think people may have noticed me before as just like the little tiny drunk guy at the bars. But I think now I've leveled up. I went from Charmander to Charizard.
Now you're the little tiny drunk guy at the bar that makes condoms.
Yeah, exactly.
So were you always a collector, a toy person? You were in the Major Pod group.
Yeah.
Were you in the Major Pod group when you approached Matt about the foam or the when you approached him about all the stuff?
The Major Pod group didn't exist at the time. This was
that
really
was
early on. Group. Yeah, this is really early on.
So you were just you were a loyal listener.
Yeah, I was a day one listener.
Okay.
I knew Zombie from just being in like the local scene. I remember him selling like the Hasbros and stuff. But I mean, like, I was a long time collector. I was actually making my own comic books.
Or toys in general.
Wrestling figures, toys in general. About the same thing that I'm doing now. Like, nothing has changed. I'm still collecting comics. I still collect wrestling figures. I still collect Power Rangers. I get stuff graded all the time, and like I'm me.
That's
I've just always been me.
That's one of the many things that I love is that it's never changed, even with what you've done for and with Major Pod. You're still the collector at heart and the toy fan at heart. Right. So you started with the foam fingers, and to me, to you probably not, but to me it seems it went very, very quickly into your own figure company, essentially, with working with the Major Pod and doing Major Bendies. How was that? I'm assuming it was a Matt idea of, hey, we need our own figures and that kind of thing. I had a question. No.
This was all my idea.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so it was like during the pandemic. I was working from home, and every time I had downtime, I would like start rearranging my toy room, and I took out my wrestling buddies, and I was rearranging them. I'm like, you know what? This is pretty easy to make. It's just a design.
Oh, it started with the buddies.
With fabric. It started with the buddies. It's just a simple fabric design, and then you stitch on the sides, fill in with cotton, and then close it up. Basically, Build-A-Bear. And I was like, I can get this done. So I pitched it to Matt, and Matt.
You were already doing regular work pretty consistently with them. obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was that. The idea was the buddies. I pitched it to Matt. Matt and Brian both seemed to have zero faith in me in doing this.
It's a big project to undertake.
Yeah,
and there were crappy ones. I mean, there are independent wrestling wise. There's crappy ones out there that are just produced by Joe Schmo.
Right. So, and also in their defense, Brian, for at least, didn't really know me that well at the time. Matt, also kind of really didn't know me that well. He would message me a lot more than Brian, but Matt basically said, "Hey, if you can get it done, we'll fund it." And I think it took me a week to have a prototype to him, and he was like, "Holy shit, you know what you're doing. Let us know what you need, how much money, and we'll fund it completely." And that went. We did the first series of Buddies. I think we sold 500 units in one day, and
Jesus,
it just spiraled after that. And I was looking at a big pile of Bendies I had just bought from Wrestling Universe, Jack's store, and I was like, the Buddies are nice, but you can't really have a collection of them. You can't grow, really, because it takes up so much real estate. But Bendies, that's something I can do, and I knew that Zombie was doing the Hasbro's already.
That was going to be a question of mine. Why did you decide to go with the Bendies or the major Bendies, that style, instead of the retros? Was there already so much of a side market in the retro figures?
I think at the time it was just Chella and Zombie.
Yep. Okay.
And I didn't want to do something that someone else was already doing. And to me, I grew up as a poor kid in New Jersey, right? Bendies was like the thing that you could get because it was so affordable. So I had a giant collection of Bendies as a kid. I mean, I had the Hasbro's too.
So that was you had an affinity to them because of your childhood. Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I got the idea, and I was afraid to pitch it to the guys because I knew I was going to need help financially and getting contracts made and everything. And I was so afraid of pitching because I didn't want to seem like someone who just wanted to use them, right?
Yep.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I just didn't want to seem too needy, and I said it passing by to them in a group chat, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this," and right away Brian called me
with them in mind as the characters, obviously, or no, or just any.
Yeah. I wanted to do it with them to start off with, and right away Brian called me, and he was like, "This is a legit business, and let's all do this together."
Wow.
And I was like, "I'm happy you said that because I was afraid to ask you." And that's how it started, and it's just been a fun journey since. I thought it was going to be just a side project, and now it's turned into a legit business where this is my 9 to 5. This is what I depend on for paying my mortgage and my Uber Eats.
That's incredible, man. I that's something I had no idea about, is that I was wondering that as I was doing notes yesterday and last night. I was like, I wonder why he went to the Bendies instead of the retros. There was obviously Zombie and Chella that were doing the retros, but then your affection because of your childhood for the Bendies makes it complete sense, and it makes it way more sense than I would have expected. It ties all those pieces together then. So then you go from that. You're building a brand with major Bendies, and then we hear rumblings of Big Rubber Guys. What happened there? Was it solely on the uprise in popularity from them and the want of new characters and old characters they never got? What was it? Where did this one come from?
So the Bendies are not far from production-wise as Big Rubber guys, because they're both the same style, technically. Just one's a 5-inch scale and another one's an 8-inch scale. And I was looking at it and I was like, if I can do this, I can also do the LJN figures, because I was also rebuying all the LJN figures from my childhood.
Of course.
I mean, I could show you a tour of my room right now. It's just insane. Like, all that.
So it's like all you and Brian have that wall. You and Brian have that wall, and because that is my affection, is Hasbro's. That's my jealousy. Whenever I stay at Brian's, whenever I FaceTime you, Landon, when we were out in New York and we met up, he got to see Brian's place with the wall of Hasbro's. It's like, man, I'm so jealous. I am so jealous of that, because that's my love, and that's what I have easily the most fond memories of. And Shoes and I were going back and forth when I just had him on about he hated Hasbro's, and it hurt my heart, because
I heard that and I wanted to punch him in the face.
How do you like LJNs more than Hasbro's? I don't get it. But then now you think, man, what does Landon probably think of Hasbro's compared to these elites? It's one of those things where, or Bone Crunchers, if you were, a mid-90s kid, you probably hated that kid probably hated Hasbro's. So it's just very weird to me, but that's what I have an affection for. So whenever I see that wall and your guys' wall, it is mind-blowing to me how amazing it is. So is it? Yeah. It went from you recollected the LJNs that you had as a kid.
Yeah, and then so my oldest brother, Chris.
We'll get to Chris.
Okay, he would. So he's the one who really got me into wrestling, right? Because this is the older brother. He had all the Hasbro's. He had all the LJNs. He collects figures as well, even though he likes to hide the fact that he does. So he
that was such an undercover burial there, by the way.
So he wants everything I make. He wants one of, and he won't tell me how proud he is of me, but he'll go around telling other people, like, yeah, my brother makes these wrestling action figures.
Hell yeah.
He hangs out with Swoggle. He's living my dream. Fuck him.
He's gonna. In that case, he's gonna love what I got coming up. This is good.
So, I sent him the stuff, and he's like, and he was putting them with his ring. Also, he has the LJN Bendies and the LJN 8-inch scale figures all next to each other.
Okay.
And he put the Bendies in, and he was like, "Why don't you make LJN style?" He was
he mentioned it.
Really, the one who, he mentioned it. And I was buying all the figures. I was like, "Yeah, why don't I? It's basically the same thing." So I pitched it to Matt and Brian. Matt was very hesitant about doing it because so many people have screwed it up. And
do you think that's telling me? Does he have an affection for LJNs or not? Do you think that had something to do with it too?
I think so. I think
he doesn't have as much as like a Joe Shoes and that kind of thing,
right? And so he was very hesitant about doing it, and I kept on saying, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this," and I want to do this. And finally, it got to the point where I was like, "Look, you keep on telling me no. Someone else is going to do this eventually. Why don't it be us? Like, I don't want to be the one copying someone else. I want to be the one first to market." And he said, "All right, get a prototype made." He's like, "But it has to be exactly like an LJN, you know how Matt gets." And I got a prototype made, sent it to him, and he's like, once again, it's another holy shit moment. It's like, okay, you know what you're doing. Let's get this done. And it took us about, I think there might have been like 5 or 6 different prototypes that we made for the first series because we wanted to make sure it was right. I think we probably broke even on Series 1 because of all the edits that we've made.
Okay.
And we wanted it so that let's lose money on the first series or even break even on the first series and get it right. That way we can continue doing it right moving forward. And then that's the business model. We'll make money on the future releases. Let's not worry about the first series.
Have the
But most people
factory
are
and
the
all of that
opposite.
be able to get the factory in the vision of what you guys are going for and all of that, and
Right.
before you
It's-
put this out and then let's try to change it later. No, change it now, and then so you
Exactly.
don't have to worry about it later. Okay.
Right. It's educating the factory of what we want because, I think it was the first prototype. It was so much like the Cody LJN figure, and that was my fault.
The Jazzwares.
The Jazzwares. So, and it was my fault because I was using it for reference. I was using the Cody, and I would mix it up with the Hulk Hogan. It was just all these. I was giving them too much variety. And I was like, okay, I have to stick to one figure, use that one figure as the example moving forward. So we used...
Because if you don't want it as the Cody and you want it as the Hogan, it's not going to turn out right as the vision.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was just educating the factory of what we want and how we need it. And then, we noticed things that had to be changed after we released it, and we fixed it for Series 2. And then we noticed other things that happened in Series 2 that we had to fix. And I think Series 3 is going to be the best series that we have available because of that. And I'm sure we're going to notice some stuff for Series 3 once it's in hand.
That's just it. You're very good at, and along with Matt and Brian, as the team and Mark especially, like you guys are very good at. This was good, but this part of it can be better. Even at this point. Even at this point where it's, again, like you said, you want to start in the beginning and get it all hammered out in the beginning. But there's still room to improve on making all of that better going forward.
Right. I think some people get comfortable, and then that's when you see quality go down.
Yeah.
I'm never comfortable. I have so much anxiety that I'm always like
wouldn't have guessed
picking
that.
at everything I do. Yeah. And then I think Matt is the same way, and Brian dissects it, but Brian handles it in a very calm and cool, collected way. I wish I knew his secret. And Mark as well. And it's just, we're just always doing it. And TTD is also a huge asset to everything that we do as well, because he notices things that I can't, or anyone can.
And what a guy. Like, he is, again, he's going to be one of them I have on, and just because of fun. Hey, man, where did this start? How did it go from fan all the way across the pond to essentially one of the pillars of Major Pod? And that'll be a fun interview too. But you've worked with so many fun characters between Major Bendies and Big Rubber Guys, from obviously legends like myself and Joe Shoes to the Chelsea Greens, and now the Sergeant Slaughters and Marty Jannetty's and Demolitions. Yeah. Has there been essentially like a pinch me moment, like oh my God, I'm talking to this person, or oh, I am working with this person's estate, or
so there's been several holy fuck moments for me. The first one, and I'm looking at my wall because I have a whole, just like how I have the Hasbros, I have all the Bendies that I've done in the same way on the other side. And I put it on the other side just so it's a reference for when I do these shows. I forget what I do.
Oh, I put out Atom Bomb? I forgot about that.
That's basically how my brain has worked. We've done over 100 figures in 2 years, guys.
Come on. Then I saw you having to find him on your wall, by the way. I completely...
But the first one had to be like Ric Flair, because like Ric Flair, we did the last match figure. So the figure that was available at the show,
by the way. That's enormous because no one had touched anything Ric Flair. Like, that was, and for such a legend for you guys, and it was a very secretive project. Obviously, it had to be because of how you had to match it to the robe and it was a very close to the chest project that you guys pulled off.
And we did it in under 2 months.
Yeah.
So production, art, shipping it, and we still needed time for Flair to sign them so that they can sell them signed. We did it in, I think it was I forgot the time, but I'm going to say 2 months in that time frame. And that was a holy shit moment because Ric Flair is Ric Flair. There's really no introduction really needed for him. And it was insane because it was the first time I really got to see Bendies being sold at a actual like storefront, because they had like all these like merch stands, and they had it
the
at
merch stands,
at WrestleCade, but it was at the actual show where I saw people storming the merch stands to buy it, and I was there with Corporate Steve, and he just looked at me. He was like, "I hope you're soaking this in because this is a awesome, good feeling for you." And
for him to notice it too. I mean, he is quite powerful and quite high up the tiers. For him to realize that, for him to be able to step back and go, man, look at this. This is really cool for Kanik. And to be so humble to bring it up to you is a really neat thing too.
Yeah. And like after he said that, I was like, holy crap. Yeah, he's right. This is really fucking cool. And then he went and bought one. So I went with him to buy it. And I saw people buying them by the bulk. Yeah. And I was just like, this is insane. That was the first holy fuck moment. But another one is Hacksaw, because I was just such a big Hacksaw Jim Duggan fan as a kid. The Hasbro was one of my favorite figures growing up. And
I'm the opposite. I hated all of his Hasbros. I hated his Hasbros. The only part I liked was that I could hold the 2x4. Man, the flag one came out, and I was so mad. This is so stupid. I hated his Hasbros. The second one was so bad. I always felt, even as a kid, I loved the gear, even though it was from his horrible run that I hated. But I hated the hand holding the flag. This is the worst.
I think I'm not sure why. Well, I know why. I have like a nostalgia feeling to the Hacksaw because I remember when I got it as a kid.
Yeah.
My father is a big gambler, and he would go to the racetrack and disappear for like the whole day. And he disappeared for the whole day at the Meadowlands racetrack. And it was Easter Day. And also my dad's Turkish and my mom's Cuban, so my mom's hardcore Catholic and my dad's borderline Muslim. So he really hates Catholic holidays. He hates the decorating. He hates everything. So he would just every time as a kid, he would just disappear and go to the racetrack. And
whenever you bring up him going to the racetrack, I always because I'm a huge Howard Stern fan. So I always think of when Howard Stern talks about his dad just disappearing to the track and then taking him with here and there, and then completely getting just horribly angry at him because he didn't know what he was. As Howard Stern didn't know as a kid what to do at the racetrack, so he was just messing it all up and asking tons of questions.
That was me. That was me as a kid. But I have to write a book about my time as a child at the racetrack. But yeah, so my dad just disappeared at the Meadowlands racetrack, and I guess he won because he stopped by the KB Toys that was right next to the Meadowlands racetrack, and he picked up 3 Hasbros. I'm assuming 3 from the 3 for $10. It was a Hacksaw, Typhoon, and Earthquake, and he came with chocolate bunnies also. So he gave me a chocolate bunny and hacksaw, and he gave my brothers. I think Joey got typhoon and a chocolate bunny, and Chris got earthquake and a chocolate bunny. And so that's I think why I like the hacksaw so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm making hacksaw, and he's just such a nice guy in real life. Like, if anyone says anything bad about hacksaw, go fuck themselves.
I don't. Yeah, Yep. Okay, that's enough figure talk. We need to get to the heart of the matter. We need to hear about your lovely, famous, incredible brother, and how you and your other brothers were supposed to be the next Culkin kids.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Tell us about your acting and your auditioning for Blue's Clues and all of that. Let's get to the heart of the matter.
Well, I learned at a very young age, thanks to the nice casting team at Viacom. My reading skills are not good. But Joey and Chris, let me tell you, are excellent. Yeah. So we grew up very poor.
Okay.
In a town called Union City, there's a famous comedian called Joey Diaz.
Yep.
Who's also from Union City. If you ever heard his podcast and stories, everything's 100% true, and he's downplaying it. So it's just a very bad area to grow up. And my mom, I'm going to sound very mean right now. Instead of thinking, how can I work harder and get my family out of this area? She thought, let me get my kids some headshots and take them to casting calls because they're kind of good looking. So that's what she did. And thank God she doesn't know how to use the internet. So that's what we did. She got us an agency, and they would take us to auditions. And since Viacom was so close to where we lived, it was about 20 minutes. We would do a lot of stuff for Nickelodeon and audition for Nickelodeon. So Chris and Joey auditioned for Hey Arnold. Chris auditioned for all that. All three of us auditioned for Blue's Clues multiple times. For Blue, Mailbox, and then later on, Paprika. There was a character called Mayor of Recycling Town. Oh, this is a good story. This is my favorite story to say because it's so comical now because we were so little and we didn't understand shit. Like, you're a kid and you have a crush and you see your crush, you don't know how to act. I mean, I still don't.
I have this noted.
I'm 34.
I have this crush. Noted. I'm so glad.
I had a huge crush on one of the women on all of that. And I think it was the Hey Arnold audition that my brother was on. I'm sitting in the audition room with him. And she's sitting next to me. And I'm like sweating because I was so nervous. And my brother looks and he sees it and he puts on his face. And I'm like, fuck.
Would this been Chris or Joey?
This is Chris.
Okay, yep.
And Chris just yells, "Hey, isn't that the girl from All That you like?" And I just like
and
I had to
even better
be
than
like
I thought.
5 or 6 years old, so it's like completely embarrassed. And I just like turned bright red, and I like start crying, and my dad had to take me out of the room. I was just so embarrassed as a child. I think that moment taught me a very valuable lesson in everything because it's so hard to make me feel embarrassed now. Like, you can say anything about me. I'll do anything. I'll walk onto the street naked. I don't give a fuck.
That, man, I didn't realize how deep the acting stuff was. I knew there was a couple things. I didn't realize that it was legit trying to be the next Partridge Family and Culkin kids. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Chris used to get a lot more jobs than Chris and Joey. I actually got dropped by the agency because I refused to do a gig because they wanted to record on my birthday. I got it. I didn't even audition for it. I just happened to walk into the room with my brothers. My brothers tell me it was for a Michael Jackson music video, which upsets me because I could have been so fucking rich. I was a cute kid. I was a cute kid.
And you didn't want to, you didn't want to shoot it because it was on your birthday.
It was on my birthday.
Which you could have easily had a party on another day.
There wasn't even a party. I think my mom just got like a Entenmann's cake that day, and that was it. But it was my birthday.
And you didn't. I love this. I love this.
Chris got a job. I forgot what movie with Al Pacino.
Okay.
And my father was hired as an extra. Chris runs up to Al Pacino and says, "I love you in Scarface. It's one of my favorite movies." And
How old is Chris? Would you say?
13 at the time.
Okay.
And he sees my father with Chris, and he goes, "Are you his father?" My father goes, "Yeah." And Al Pacino goes, "You shouldn't be showing your son those type of movies." Like trying to like teach my father how to be a father. And my father goes, "He knows more than you," and just walks away. And then my father goes, "That man has so much dandruff." My father does not give a fuck who you are. He will put you down if you try to put him down.
So, oh man. So, for people who don't know, current day Chris, he's doing pretty okay for himself. This is where I was talking to you earlier about definitely putting Chris over because it just makes me happy when I do that. He is the season 1 winner of Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars. He invented one of the coolest products known to man in smart cups. Go to smartcups.com. But what I need to know, Michael, is not about smart cups, not about the auditions. I need a Gordon Ramsay scoop. Let's make an exclusive Gordon Ramsay scoop on here.
Okay.
I love that you're thinking of it.
You want a story?
Give me yes, I want a Gordon Ramsay scoop. Let's go.
I don't really.
I love him. I love him. Over the last year and a half, I have become infatuated with all things Gordon Ramsay. Like everyone has, I feel like in the last 5 years, it's become the last year. I'm a late bloomer. Gordon Ramsay probably just hit Oshkosh like 3 years ago. So I am very late
running water
to the party.
So, 2 stories I guess I can share. I wasn't there during everything. My brother was able to invite family members for the last episode, and I didn't make the cut. Apparently, he likes his wife.
You passed on that too, just like the Michael Jackson video.
I passed on that as well. He thought his wife and kids are a lot better than me. He barely knows them. He's known me longer.
They haven't given him an SDL, Bendy.
He doesn't know who SDL is. He got that very confused in the mail. So he goes, when the show ended, there's that famous meme of Gordon Ramsay putting the slices of bread between someone's face and he calls them an idiot sandwich.
Yep.
My brother had 2 slices of bread in a Ziploc bag, and he goes, "Win or lose, I'm going to be called an idiot sandwich." And he goes, "I hope I lose because it would be even funnier."
Oh, okay.
And he won, and he he still went up to Gordon Ramsay and says, "I understand I won, and you're going to be investing in my company."
On the show?
No, it's not on the show.
Oh, even
but there's
better.
footage of it.
That's even better. That he just wanted to pop himself and people around him.
Yeah, he just wanted it for himself. So he had Gordon Ramsay take the 2 slices of bread and scream at him with it sandwiched over his head, ears, and says, "Chris, you're an idiot sandwich." So that's one story. Another story is a nice story about Gordon Ramsay. My niece, Gianna, who I think steals the whole show with her facial expressions throughout the episode, goes up to Gordon Ramsay and says, "I want you to make me some chocolate."
Oh.
But like very pushy because she lives in Orange County. She's a snob. She didn't grow up in the hood like me and my brother. So she's a little spoiled brat. And
her dad's not at the racetrack to get a hacksaw.
Yeah. My brother and I keep on saying we're going to take his kids to the Meadowlands racetrack for an education. But Gordon Ramsay thought it was so funny that he had one of the runners go get her chocolate.
Oh.
And in one of in the episode, you see Gordon Ramsay saying, "Chris, you won the show, the $250,000 investment." You can see my niece in the background licking chocolate off her finger
because of what happened.
Yep. So that's 2 Gordon Ramsay stories. I don't really have anything else.
I love it. Oh, that makes me so happy. All right. That's enough about your adorable, famous brother. Now back to you.
Well, he also used to be a stand-up comedian.
He's just the perfect human, Mike. He's just the perfect human.
I call him the smart Forrest Gump because he's done it all. And like you look at him, you're just like, this man is homeless. He has a dumb haircut, doesn't wear shoes.
I love him.
And he wears the same outfit every day. I don't think he even showers.
I just want to put that in there. You see, you were putting him over so well about the $250,000 investment. All of this being, essentially best friends with Gordon Ramsay, and there's the burial again. You did it in the beginning because you knew we were going to put him over, and it couldn't be too much for putting him over. Then now you had to bury him again. I love it.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier. We're gonna go back to toys. You were talking earlier about how you were a Hasbro kid and you were a wrestling figure kid. Now, some quick toy talk. What would you consider your Mount Rushmore of toy lines? Whether it be, we can do an overall one of toy lines in general, or we can do or just wrestling one. What is your overall Mount Rushmore? 4. You only get 4 choices.
I'm going to do 4 overall.
Yep.
Number 1, Automorphin Power Rangers.
The flip heads, yep.
The flip heads.
Yep.
Which I have tattooed on my arm.
I love that you got that tattoo. Man, when you got that tattooed, it was literally like you're going into the doctor to find out about a biopsy. Your reaction after getting the tattoo, I can't drink. I can't. I gotta keep it out of certain shampoos. Can I eat this? I don't know. It was the greatest. And Shoes and I are just laughing at you because I knew you were serious. I think Shoes at one point thought you might have been messing with us, but I was like, I really think he's legit. That he doesn't know what he can do. And this, like, you had in your mind, you had to like lock yourself in a room because you just got the Green Ranger tattooed on your arm.
Yeah.
You had to quarantine because of the Green Ranger tattoo. That's essentially in your mind.
Yeah, so I've had so many things. I've had so many things about people getting infections and stuff. I'm like, well, shit, I just left my job to start this toy company. I don't have health insurance. I can't afford an infection.
Oh, man. I love your brain. I love how your brain works and doesn't. I love it. It makes me so happy on a daily basis.
I mean, I'm just hoping I could use your platform to let any single teachers out there know I'm available and let me know what your health insurance plan is.
You want to use my platform to get health insurance.
I'm gonna use your platform to marry a nice nurse or teacher where we could grow a nice, happy family. I'll call the first child Dylan.
Nope. Nah, I'm not being tied into this.
Just because I want health insurance.
Okay. Morphin Power, the Fliphead Power Rangers, which again, I hated them. I didn't hate them. I liked the thought of it. I didn't like it. Whenever I see now with the Hasbros and that, whenever I see people pose them in their suits with the human heads, it makes me very upset. Because they shouldn't ever be seen that way. Human heads should only be seen with, like, Trini wearing her overalls and Zach wearing his black t-shirt. That's the only time this should be seen as human heads.
So I have mine displayed. I'm looking at them right now with the human head sticking out.
Makes me so mad. So mad.
Go
on. What are your other three?
I'm gonna go LJNs.
Okay.
I'm gonna do Hasbros. WWF Hasbros.
Okay.
And this is a new thing. I really like Hot Toys. I'm a big Hot Toys guy. I have probably over 40 Hot Toys.
Okay. And what are Hot Toys?
So, Hot Toys are 1/6 scale action figures.
Yep.
That are very detailed. So it's almost like looking at a statue of the person, but it's really just an action figure. It's just a really detailed action figure. They go for about $300 to $600 a figure.
Jesus. So that's overall. What are your just wrestling? LJN, Hasbro. Where else would you? Are they making the cut? Obviously.
Yeah, LJN, Hasbro. I would do Bendies and then Bone Crunchers.
So nothing new.
I still buy Elites, but at the end of the day, when you look at your figures, I think the nostalgia ones are the ones that give you the most joy. So it's hard to compete with
I fully
nostalgia.
Agree. Yep. That's something I have learned over time now, especially being part of the Major Pod universe, is my love for toys is because of my nostalgia. It hit me about a year ago where I realized I am a pro wrestler because of wrestling figures. I never was a wrestling fan until wrestling figures. So I'm literally doing what I do because of wrestling figures. So I love American Gladiators. Why do I love American Gladiators? Still to this day, because of the figures that we talk about. Exactly. Literally, I saw it. I was like, yep, that's exactly it. I love American Gladiators because of the toys. I love Turtles because of the toys. That's why I have so much love for these things that I grew up with, is because of the toys. And I think I have no infatuation, Dylan Postl moment, for He-Man or G.I. Joe, because I didn't have a love for them. So when you and Shoes talk about that, it's like, man, it's like speaking a foreign language to me, because I have no idea what any of it is or why the love for it, because it just wasn't my thing. But then I listen to you guys and I go, man, that's a whole nother world. Where me talking to you guys about Muppet collectibles, you guys are going, come on, it can't be that big of a deal. And I'm going, you have no idea about these PVC figures from the 80s and how awesome they were. And you're going, yo, Joe, it's literally like how two different worlds are completely separate. And
yeah,
but that's it makes complete sense as to why you would put those 4 on your Mount Rushmore. Here's the thing. We've talked about our love and our infatuation and our friendship, but the standing thing that we keep forgetting is that you and I have a boxing match coming up at a live show whenever I get booked again, and the captain is the referee. I don't remember where this even came from. I don't know. Was this about was this on the Rough and Rowdy episode? I don't know where this idea even came from. But what I do know is instantly when it came up, I thought of the big inflatable pillow gloves, and I was like, this needs to happen. It needs to happen at a live show. And
the blank check pillow gloves.
That's what it was.
Right?
That's what it was.
The blank check.
But how did that come up?
I'm not sure if it was the Rough and Rowdy or
was it? Did I just name drop blank check on one of the episodes?
Yeah, and you said you wanted to beat the shit out of me, maybe.
That's
a big possibility.
I may have challenged you.
People want to punch.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I may have challenged you. That makes sense. It's happening. It needs to happen. It'll probably be like Major 30 at this point, but it needs to happen. But the issue is, it has to be like a somewhat enclosed space. I'm not doing this on a stage. Listen, I did Rough and Rowdy. I'm not boxing on a stage.
We got your boy TJ. Actually, our boy TJ.
Okay.
We go to his school.
So this is a closed thing.
Yeah. But we do a cinematic
I have
version.
a ring in Oshkosh where you're buying a house. I have a nice ring here.
Oh, that's true. Actually, my brother also
Kenck,
owns.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I run a wrestling company. You're over there selling fake LJNs and Bendies. I run a goddamn wrestling company.
I mean, I'm just making half naked men. You are making them naked men.
That could be the quote of the day. Well, this is happening. Guys, stay tuned. It might be a Dylan Postl YouTube exclusive. I might take it from the Majorverse. I might steal this like I did this whole podcast. All right, man. Before we wrap things up.
Wait.
Yeah.
I think we need to do this with a cinematic version of like spoofing Rocky. Like Rocky
I've never
2.
seen, but we know I've never seen that. I know
Oshkosh
this thing
still has Blockbuster, right? Oshkosh
no,
still has Blockbuster.
Nope. I just told Landon. I was just explaining to Landon about video stores and about Hollywood Video and about Blockbuster. And I showed him where our old Blockbuster was and our old family. There's still a Family Video building, which was like, that might be a Midwest chain. I don't think that was a nationwide chain, Family Video. But Hollywood Video was definitely nationwide. And that was, when that came out, for $5, you could get it for 5 days. Or you could get it for a week, even. And it was like, that was mind-blowing, because you couldn't ever get something more than 2 days. But it was very expensive compared to the other rental places. I just remember that. And then you could rent, I was explaining to him how you could rent whole systems, and you could see like smoke coming out of his ears, like, what's going on? You could rent a game system? I said, yeah. It was expensive. And like, if you didn't know the person working the desk, you had to have like, I think you had to have your parents do it. But Oshkosh is a very small town, so I just did it. But the whole the video rental store is such a lost memory, and it's like something that, again, we talked about Hasbro's and all of that, our love for that kind of stuff. I think the video store, I think it's even above the arcade for me, because of like the love and good memories I have about video rental stores.
So I lived by a Blockbuster, about 5 blocks away, and it was expensive for my family to go rent anything. So renting a movie or a video game was a very big luxury.
Yeah.
But thanks to good old Chris Kanik, he entered the
He's a hero.
Blockbuster video game tournament. He is. He entered the Blockbuster video game tournament, won.
Please tell me. Please, I was gonna say he had. Let me guess. He won that too.
Yeah, he won. The game was NBA Jam and Judge Dredd, and for the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
He won, and we got 1 year free rentals.
Oh, and you used the hell out of it, didn't you?
Every day we're at Blockbuster. They knew us. They knew the whole family. And so Chris and Joey used to rent the video games, and I would rent movies. I was always just like a giant movie buff, and I actually originally went to college for film, and I had a full scholarship for film. How with my shaky hands, I don't know, but I was apparently very good at editing. And the summer that I was going in from high school to college for my freshman year, Blockbuster had a thing where you could rent unlimited movies for, I think it was $10 or $15 a month.
Okay.
I tested the system out of that completely. I was renting 4 to 5 movies because I had nothing to do that summer. 4 to 5 movies a day.
Jesus.
Watching movies. And I was just like, this is my summer school. I'm going to educate myself on film. I got to film school. I dropped out after 2 weeks. I changed my major from film to marketing, and I had to forfeit the scholarship. But I'm gonna lead us way back into collectibles and major bendies. One of the main reasons why I went to film school was because I was a huge Kevin Smith fan.
Okay.
And I loved Clerks and Dogma and Mallrats. Huge comic book guy, so Mallrats was my shit. So was Chasing Amy. Still is. And now, first license outside of wrestling is the Kevin Smith universe. So we have the rights to Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks.
Yep.
Buddy Christ movies.
Yep.
We can do it all. We have the black and white version of Clerks of Jay and Silent Bob coming out very soon, and it's just full circle now, right? You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only looking it back.
Just what you said, full circle. You're talking about how you worked with Hacksaw and that being a pinch me moment, and from your childhood, and now Clerks being from your teenage and college years. Now full circle to that, and being able to produce figures of that whole brand. It's so awesome what you are doing and continue to do with that brand, and just what you're doing overall. We joke about always working and that kind of thing, but you call it anxiety, you call it nervousness. I call it almost like work ethic. And I truly mean that. I've told you that. I call it fully work ethic. How your brain doesn't turn off when it comes to ideas and making shit happen. That's just how you are, and how your mind and personality works, and it's very respectable. And congrats, man. The Kevin Smith thing, I know, is, in talking to you, was a big deal. You know, of the possibility of it, and that's the first major, no pun intended, thing outside of wrestling that you've been able to get done. And I know it's just the beginning, and I know there's going to be even more to come. So yeah, good job, pal.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for being such a good friend and supporting me throughout this whole process. Another fuck yeah moment was I used to go to SummerSlam Fan Access, and my number one thing is
Man.
I gotta go see Hornswoggle.
So,
and now,
yes.
I'm on your fucking show.
We're posting. I'm gonna post it when we make the shorts of this. That picture is gonna come up. When we promote this podcast, that picture is gonna come up. Whenever I get that picture from you in the group chat or see it online, it was one of those days where, man, I was so miserable because it was LA and I wasn't booked, but I like always at the time I was so fucking hot. And I wasn't booked for the show, but I was good enough for access. And that's how it was a lot during that time of my career. And I was just miserable because then it was always photos. I would have sat under a tent and sat and done autographs all day, but standing for photos. And there was a Mania or a SummerSlam, I forget which it was, but I did it for it was either 4 or 6 sessions in a row where it was like it started as me and Rosa, and then it was just me, and then me and JTG.
Yes.
And it was like bop 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 bop, and it was I finally said, I said, guys, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm not standing on my feet anymore. Throw me in the autograph thing. I don't care. But I'm not doing this. I'm not booked on Sunday. I'm not doing it. And I finally spoke up for myself, and I just didn't, because I didn't care. What are they going to do? Not use me that weekend? It just, whenever I see that photo pop up, man, it makes me so happy. And like, to think that you are, it's grown into a friendship with you and someone that Landon very much affectionately cares for as well and asks about pretty consistently. It means a lot to me. So thanks, pal.
I mean, they knew that you had to see the Kanik brothers in their drunken state drinking Jack Daniels out of Gatorade bottles.
Check out Major Bendies. Check out Major Merch. It's an easy plug for those guys, I know, but that stuff wouldn't happen. I truly feel it would not happen without Kenck, as we talked about in that interview, and I truly do feel that way. He is the hero of all things Major Merch, and if he wasn't really backing it like he does, none of that would happen. And we have really, really cool items available to us because of that.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. One final plug for all socials and stuff before we get out of here today. At Going Postl Pod on all forms of social media. At Dylan Postl on all forms of social media. YouTube.com/Dylan Postl. Twitch.tv/Dylan Postl. SwoggleAuction.com. Get yourself a free $10 credit over at Whatnot. And
if you're listening live,
if
you're listening live, we have a Whatnot tonight. Tonight. Get yourself $10 free to use on the stream. SwoggleAuction.com. If you're listening live tonight, Wednesday, January 10th. Otherwise, our next one will be the first Wednesday of February. I'm going to try these once a month. I'm going to go back to once a month and just have some fun.
And of course, if you want all updated information about Swoggle, DylanPostl.com. It's got links to everything that we just talked about. His Big Cartel store, his Pro Wrestling Tees store, everything in between. That's DylanPostl.com.
George, plug your shit.
Oh, okay. So I'll do that first, and then I gotta remind you of something that you have to do for the outro. You can't tell me to do my plugs and then laugh the entire time as I'm doing my plugs.
Well, before you got into the plugs, you were going to remind me to do something after the plugs, and it just caught me off guard because you went so seamlessly into your plug. George,
I'm doing this for a little bit.
George, plug your shit.
In addition to this wonderful podcast that I do with my best friend, Dylan Postl, I have another podcast with my other best friend, Johnny Clash. But on this podcast, we like to call him what, Dylan?
Carouse!
And it's called The Game Marks Podcast. We cover a new wrestling video game each and every week, doing a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome, and offer up our ratings, some fun facts, and everything in between. You can check us out on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And you can listen wherever you listen to your podcast. Yeah, we appreciate it. And then we'd also appreciate if you liked, comment, subscribe, reviewed this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen. And let us know what you think of the podcast. Give us a comment. It really helps out the podcast. Dylan and I would greatly appreciate it. Now, this is a thing that I have to remind you of. For the better part of a year, I have been going, Dylan, it is now time for you to do that signature sign off. And you usually say thanks and throw your thumbs up and everything is well and good in the world. I need you to start saying something before you throw the thumbs up so the camera switches to you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We're starting the year off really well. Let's end the year off really well. We have 52 divided by 2. 26 plus 1, 27. Nope. 27 times 2 is 54. That's not how many episodes we're doing. 56. 26 would be 52. We have under 26 episodes. We're going to finish the year off just how we started the year off, and that's going to be strong.
It's the longest outro ever.